You are watching 32 teams in 32 days on the Game Time Sports Network.
It's a great day, sports world. What's up to all the sports lovers, the haters, the addicts, and the fanatics? This is Larry Patterson for GT365. That's Game Time 365 Sports right here on the GTSN. That's the Game Time Sports Network. Probably be a quick one today. Got some storms going on, and I don't know what they're trying to do. Mon, you got the same thing going out in your way. It shouldn't take too long for the Chicago Bears, but we want to go ahead and get this thing on out the way, man. This team went 5-12 last year. How you doing, by the way, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Trying to get through this storm, man. You know, going to cut the lights off. Dog running around crazy. That dog don't know how to sit in the lightning. Other than that, man, we doing good, man.
Yeah, man. So this team went 5-12 last year, fourth in the NFC North. They have not made the playoffs since the year 2020, which that's 4 years now. So they hired a brand new coach, but before we get to that, Matt Eberflus was their head coach last year, and he was fired after 12 games, 14-32 overall as the coach in 3 seasons. Got him up out of there. And me personally, I think they should have let him go going into last year anyway. Being that you got you a quarterback now, you need to get you an offensive guy in there, and now this is the year. They got Ben Johnson who come over from Detroit, and some quick little stats here. 3 years as OC at Detroit. He came over. He was there for like 3 years, or 3 or 4 years, I believe, and then he got promoted to offensive coordinator in 2022. In the pass game, he was ranked 8th. In the run game, he was ranked 11th. In 2023, pass game ranked 2nd, run game ranked 5th. In 24, pass game ranked 2nd, run game ranked 6th. I'm just going to ask you, in your opinion, was this the best decision that the Bears can make as far as a head coaching hire?
Absolutely. If we just talking about on the pro level, yeah, I think that was the best decision. Now, if we're going outside of the pro game, I probably would have made a call to Lincoln Riley, just because he was Caleb's coach at USC, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Am I right? I think Lincoln Riley is the coach at USC now.
Yeah.
I would have made a call to Lincoln Riley to see what it would have took to get him to come with Caleb to Chicago. But, obviously he wanted to stay in USC, which I completely agree and understand. So
can't blame him.
Can't blame him. You live in LA, good weather, good money, good everything. Why leave? But back to your question, was Ben Johnson the right choice? Or yes, I would say for what the league is going past happy. Points on the board, I like the scoreboard up. I think Ben Johnson was the right call to help Caleb develop in his career.
4-2 in the first 6 games of last season. You thought they were kind of going to be on a roll. It looked like the sun was getting ready to shine over in Chicago, but then after the bye week, they lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight games.
The bottom fell out that bad boy.
before winning the last one against Green Bay, and we had Darrell on yesterday, and but he already expressed his frustration with it. But Caleb Williams, in his rookie season, he had 562 attempts throwing the ball for over 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, completing 62 and a half on the completion percentage. Sacked a league high 68 times. Ridiculous. And I think you already putting your franchise guy in a bad position. Just basically, all right, we draft you, and then hey, just go work with what we throwing out there. So now This season, we'll touch on that in a little bit. They add some guys, add some offensive line, add some other weapons. How would you? I'm not even going to ask you how would you rank Caleb Williams, but how would the overall performance of Caleb Williams? What were your thoughts about it?
It was what I expected. Having this quote unquote, and I hate the word they use, generational hype around a quarterback coming in, but Caleb was what he was in college. You know what I mean? He was explosive, dynamic, had big plays, can make something out of nothing, as they say around the way. Had a highlight package for you every Saturday. The transition to the league, it definitely was a transition for him. Not having the best offensive line, outside of Darnell Wright. I think Braxton Jones was the other tackle as well. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he was. I think he
Um,
was dealing with an injury though.
yes, not having the best offensive line, and then you transition to the program where people have tape on you every week. They know what you're good at. They know what you can take away. They can take away from you, and it was up to Eberflus to get the best out of you. And everybody know Eberflus. He's a defensive minded coach, so you was already struggling, and that was already a bad matchup, as you would say, going into his rookie year. But back to that stat that you had said, 68 times being sacked. It reminds me of the Houston Texans expansion team when they took David Carr number 1 overall back in '02, and he just got beat up. Beat up. It hurt his confidence, and he just never recovered. You know, from that, and they went on to Matt Schaub, and David Carr went to be backups here, and then he ended up getting a Super Bowl ring with the Giants that last hurrah that Eli had. So yeah, man, we don't want that for Caleb. As a fan of the game itself, we want the additions and hires that they made this year. I'm glad, but overall, the season last year was what I expected. It wasn't too. He had his moments, and he had his high moments. He had his low moments. Now I think this year, going into year 2, this will be a year that he will have an offensive minded coach that can explain the game a lot better to him, and see what he can do in 2025.
DeAndre Swift has some. He's familiar with Ben Johnson being over in Detroit. I think for like a year, and it did. I don't think it really worked out too well. DeAndre Swift had his first 1,000-yard season the year before last when he played with Philadelphia, and he just went like right over 1,000 yards. Came over to Chicago, and he played all 17 games, I believe, for the first time in his career. Played a whole full NFL season. 253 carries, 959 yards, and 6 touchdowns, running for 3.8 per. And then Caleb, 489 yards to tack on to the passing stats that I listed. So he did run for a little bit. Rashawn Johnson, I'm gonna circle that name right there.
Mm-hmm.
He had 150 yards off 55 carries, but he had like 300 some yards, I want to say, the year before. He still tacked on 6 tugs. So, and then on the receiving side, DJ Moore, 966 on the yards on 98 catches, 140 targets. Keenan Allen racked up 744 and 7 touchdowns. Roma Dunze, who I felt like if that offense really was clicking like that, I feel like his numbers probably would have been better, but doesn't also take away that Keenan Allen was taking catches from him too. So now that Keenan Allen's not there, Roman Dunze could probably have a better year. And then Cole Kmet still there, but we about to touch on another tight end, a tight end that you're familiar with in a few. But let's touch on the defense real quick. Still got guys like Jalen Johnson, one of the best corners in the league, one of the corner pieces of this defense, of this team, really. Kevin Byard came over, 130 tackles. TJ Edwards, 129 tackles. Tremaine Edmonds, 110 tackles. It's probably one of the, I would say one of the more better athletic linebacking trios in the league. Minus Kevin Byard. I'm missing out on somebody, but I know T.J. Edwards, Tremaine Evans, and it's another linebacker somewhere. But how do you feel about this defense going into this year? Well, let's start with last year. How do you feel about this defense from last year?
Yeah, man. Defense last year was okay. Jalen Johnson got paid. He had a solid season, bag well deserved. I know they ended up trading for Montez Sweat, as we mentioned last night, and I forgot all about Montez Sweat. To be honest with you, when you text me, I was like, man, I forgot they gave him a second round pick for Montez and then paid him on top. So on top of that, so it was like, oh man, pass rush.
And he was really like their only pass rusher, really. I mean, I know you had Garon Dexter,
Yeah,
and some, but he's right up the middle. But on that, as far as the other side, like where's the help coming? It seems like my man, who was we just talking about? I'm blanking on his name. Was the pass rusher? Sweat, Montez Sweat.
Yeah.
So he was taking on double duties and stuff like that. So I mean, of course his numbers are not going to look. And he racked up like at 12 and a half. And he got traded in that year. He racked up 6.5 for Washington, came over to the Bears and racked up 6 more. And I believe that got him that contract. Then he gets the 5.5 or 6 sacks that he had last year. Just seemed like the production kind of wasn't there, but he also couldn't help that, he was catching the attention, and rightfully so. So going into this year, what do you see coming out of Montez Sweat this year?
I mean, he has to turn it up a notch, man. He has to play like that first round pick 26. I forgot which year it was that he came out. It was a couple years ago. All the years started to blend together now. He has to play like that, that number one pass rusher, that they need. He needs that 12 and a half that he had, but coming from Washington in
2019.
2019, he came on 2019. But that 12 and a half he had coming from the Washington Commanders and the Chicago Bears, it needed to be 14, 15 and a half for it to be the defense to go to another level. Because you got the linebackers, you got Tremaine Evans, T.J. Edwards that came on from Philly a couple years ago, Kyler Gordon, the other corner that they drafted. I think it's a corner that they drafted. Kevin Byard that done been around the league. He's been with Philly. He's been with Tennessee. So he's a seasoned vet back there. And I don't. Now help me, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if Eddie Jackson's still there. He might not be. I could be wrong.
Nah,
kind of moved on already. But yeah, man, I definitely see if we need some more pass rush help for Montez Sweat, there's another level that this team can reach. But until that other person emerges, man, we probably gonna be stuck in mud and probably finish where they finished last year.
Yeah. So yeah, I know you wasn't thinking about it, but yeah, Eddie Jackson's been gone. I think he's been gone for like maybe I want to say 2 years at the most.
Maybe.
Jaquan Brisker though.
Brisker, that's who it is. That's the other safety. I couldn't think of his name.
He's been having some injury issues, and I think he's coming into a contract year, so this is a very big year for him. And then let's all right, Garon Dexter 5 sacks, and then everything else, like it just 40 sacks as a team, like that's just not a lot, and that has to get better. Now, who is their defensive coordinator? I had their defensive coordinator like right there in my face. Dennis Allen, you know him pretty well,
bro. That's probably why I ain't make no notes of that, man.
Anyway. So Dennis Allen can be a little aggressive at times, So I definitely will give Dennis Allen the coordinator nod versus the head coaching nod. See what you can come from there, what you can get from there. Let's go to the key additions that they had. One key addition that I do like is Grady Jarrett. Now, I know he did tear his ACL, It wasn't last year. Ooh, I want to say
Year
it was
before last. Year
a
before
year
last.
before. So, this is a big year coming up for him. See if he can, re re up his career. Signing Drew Dahlman as well, Devin Duvernay for depth, and then Illuminate Zacchaeus also for he can make some big plays as well. Deo Odeyingbo, nice defensive end. Um, Out of those, and also signing Jonah, they traded for Jonah Jackson and then traded for Joe Tooney as well. So, do you think that the Bears did enough as far as helping Caleb with the key offensive additions trading for?
Yeah, I absolutely think they did enough. Especially the main thing, as you stated out in the first, the opening intro to this thing, talking about the 68 sacks that he took last year. You go out and get Dolman. You go get Thuney from the Chiefs. I think you traded the fourth to the Kansas City Chiefs for him, and they gave him a little pay raise. So
I believe.
all pro, um, probably top left guard in the game, 2, 3, 4, 5 max maybe. So yeah, the offensive line definitely got fixed, along with what they had already. Um, Now I know we haven't spoke on the draft picks yet, but you lose Keenan Allen, but you have a Doomsday, DJ Moore, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, then you have DeAndre Swift and Roshan Johnson, who I was very big on coming out of Texas. I know he backed up Bijan Robinson those couple years that they were in Texas together. But I feel like if you look at it from totality, Cole Kmet as well. So he was another second round pick. So the weapons are there offensively. It gives Ben Johnson some toys to play with, and we know he's going to try to emulate what he had with Detroit the last past couple seasons. Um, so yes, to answer your question, I think yes they have done enough offensively to support him. Now it's just what Caleb going into year two, game slowing down. He's able to understand defenses a little better and execute whatever Ben Johnson calls.
I think their defense, while we're touching on draft picks, I think their defense is going to be, it's going to turn it up a little bit as well. Adding guys like you talked about the Colston Loveland, the first round pick. You talked about Luther Burden, the second round pick. I mean, they did pick up Ozzie Trapilo. That was their other second round pick from Boston College. Picking up Shamar Turner. I think Shamar Turner, he's going to add some another body to the line, and then you add Ruben Hippolyte, who I think he will make some noise. I'm not sure about the first year, but definitely down the line is somebody that can look at it. It's like, hey, we kind of nailed on this pick. Also, picking up Zy Frazier from UTSA in the fifth round. Luke Newman, another guard out of Michigan State in the sixth round, and then one the one skill player that other than Luther Burden and then Colston Love, and then one skill player at the running back position that I felt they should have addressed early on is Kyle Manungai. And I feel like Kyle Manungai, given the opportunity, can really do some good things over there. What you think?
Yeah, man. I think they got Kyle Manungai in the sixth round. I think the sixth round. I could
In
be
the
wrong.
seventh.
Seventh round. Okay, excuse me. Yeah, man. Like you said, Hippolyte. I think he's the linebacker from Maryland. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I could. Okay, yeah, Hippolyte. That'll be some depth behind Tremaine Edmonds. They took Ozzie Trapilo in the second round from Boston College, so there could be some developmental pieces there. A developmental spot to take over for Braxton Jones at left tackle. He could be a swing tackle this year, and ultimately, if they decide that hey, we need to move on from Braxton Jones, we can do that, and he can probably take over the left tackle, or they move Darnell Wright to left and move Ozzie Trapilo to right. So there's some options there. So I do like them showing up and taking care of the key, the guy that has the key to the franchise. So yeah, man. I mean, I think those additions on offense and defense make this team a lot better than where they stand versus the Lions and Packers and Vikings, that remains to be seen.
I still think they need another wide receiver. They still need another, skill player to kind of say if Luther doesn't work out, you know. I know Cole will definitely work, but say if Luther doesn't work out, and I mean look at what you have. I mean, you got Miles Boykin, you got Maurice Alexander,
Well,
Devin.
Miles Morgan still in the league. Good God.
uh, Roma Dunze. That's your other one, and then you got Tyler Sky, who just never seemed to kind of like put it all together. Going to we touched on the trenches. We're trying to get through this real quick, so this storm. But I think I think that they will improve. It's just it's still going to be some growing pains there. And so, going into, I know a lot of people thinking, Ben Johnson, the work that he did for Detroit, the personnel there at the Bears now is just it's not matching up just yet. For one, you don't even have a Jahmyr Gibbs over there yet, and you barely got a David Montgomery. So, and I know that's where he wants to go. He does like those two tight end sets, So I feel like you got something with Cole Kmet and then Colston Loveland. But how do you? I don't know if I asked you this already, but like, what are your projections, real quick, on this offense before we go on the defense?
I think it's going to start off slow. Everybody getting acclimated to Ben Johnson's system. A good thing about it, for the wide receivers, Antoine Randall came over from Detroit with Ben Johnson to help DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden, help them
Good.
out. Yeah, great pickup, great player in the league during his time. So I think that the transition will be a little rocky at first, but it definitely will. Middle of the year they will have some kind of chemistry together, and it will pick up. Now I'm not saying it's going to be explosive as the Lions from 2-3 years ago, but I expect them to put some points up on the board this year if everybody's healthy and Caleb continues to progress snap by snap on Sundays.
Let's touch on the schedule real quick.
All right.
You start Monday night in week 1 against the Vikings. Week 2, you play Detroit at Detroit. Then you play Dallas in week 3 at the Raiders week 4 before you
No,
hit
that's
the
a
bye
loss. No, that's a loss.
before hitting the bye week, and then week 6 you go to the Commanders. Then you're at home against the Saints. You're at the Ravens, followed by the Bengals. At home against the Giants. At the Vikings. Back at home against the Steelers. Then you're at Philly. At Green Bay. 2 back-to-back tough ones right there. Like, then you go back home against Cleveland, Green Bay again, and then you're at San Francisco before finishing up at Detroit for the last game of the season. This NFC North, we've been talking about. We've been talking about it since Sunday. They this one division that's got a tough schedule, and the Bears are another team that's capping out the season with a tough schedule here.
Yeah, man. It ain't no cakewalk up there in the North, man. Whether you play in the North all together or you got to play teams outside of the North, they finished. I think what's the last place? No, it's not a last place schedule, but let's look at the games, man. You got Steelers, Eagles, Packers back to back to back, all late November going to early December, and you got Green Bay and Philly away back to back. And you know how weather conditions can be. It's gonna be cold out there, bad boy. That's one of them what they say black and blue games right there. Gonna be some hard hitting, and gonna be some snot bowls and stuff flying everywhere for sure.
Hey, they should be used to it though.
They're used to it, you know what I'm saying? But they have to. I think it's going to, and I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be like this narrative around Chicago that they're not a they're a soft team. I can see that narrative being created they're a soft team, a finesse team with all the weapons they have. But yeah, man, we're definitely going to see during this season. They got the Ravens, the Saints. They are there. Saints are there just doing cardio. They just out there participating. Then we got the Raiders. That's going to be we already talked about that one. Bears, Lions, Vikings, Chiefs. They got this preseason, but there's some good tests, for them. The first 3 weeks of the year, first 3 weeks of the season, Vikings, Lions, Cowboys. That should be a measuring stick for the Bears to see how good their offense can be quickly, or how bad their offense can be, or it's going to take some time, or how good they can be quickly. If you ask me.
You believe in Tyreek Stevenson?
That man still got a roster spot out there, man. So somebody believe in him. I don't. Poor Jalen Johnson, man, he just out there. I mean, you can watch the ball go over your head like that and stuff. I mean, like what are we doing, man? Like,
I mean, you defending and you paying attention to the crowd when you should be paying attention to,
dropping your quarters coverage, man. Smack the ball in. You all up in the crowd. Like, what are we doing?
But, to him, he already won the game.
Yeah, game was over. But yeah, man. I don't know if it could be hard for him to ever come over that, man. That's a tough, man. Like, that changed the trajectory of both teams' season. The Bears were in the tank, and the daggone Commanders, they soared to the NFC Championship after that, man. It just flipped the switch for both franchises, man. But yeah, man, Tyreek Stevenson, he's still in the roster, man, so he must have some type of value.
Mind you, they were coming off a 3-game winning streak when they lost to the Commanders. Since that's when they went on that long 10-game losing streak.
Boy, you know how many we'll be fighting in the locker room.
God, man. Real quick, let's touch on more or less. Caleb Williams, 35-41 on the yards last year, 20 touchdowns. Does he go more or less on both of those categories?
I'm gonna say more on both categories, just because of who their head man is calling the games for him. He's going to naturally get Caleb some easy stuff, easy reads, easy touchdowns, easy scores. So I'm going to say more of both. I'm going to say about 20, 25 tubs, crack 4,000 yards, maybe a little more, a little less, but definitely more than both of those numbers that he had last year.
Sacked 68 times last year. This is for the offensive line. And I mean, like I said, rejuvenated offensive line, adding Drew Dahlman, Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson, already having Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones there.
And one more thing, bro, like with the more or less with Caleb, man. Chicago Bears have never had a 4,000-yard pass in their franchise history. Somebody has to break the cycle. I think this is the year that happens with Caleb Williams, man. Think about Jim McMahon back at the 85 Bears. Of course, they weren't throwing the ball like they're throwing the ball now. Jay Cutler, Rex Grossman, all those quarterbacks they had in the past, nobody could never crack 4,000
Mitch
yards.
Trubisky,
Carolina's finest. Nobody could never crack 4,000 yards as a passer in Chicago, man. So I think this is the year it happens. It has to happen for them, man, just because of the structure and the weapons and the mind that Ben Johnson has. So I'm gonna say that's why I say more than 3,500 yards.
I think Ben's also looking at that offensive line and getting sacked 68 times. So that's my question. That's my next one, is for the offensive line. It's for Caleb too, but does the sack numbers come down? They have to. If you get sacked at a league high 68 times again, something's wrong.
Then it ain't the offensive line. It's not, because you go out and you have a first round tackle in Darnell Wright a couple years ago. You trade for Joe Thuney, you sign Drew Dahlman. Those are 3 solid, bona fide NFL linemen, and it's on you now, brother.
Quick question: Is the age concern for Joe Tooney?
Nah, because no, not for me. I know he's what 34, 35, 34.
Mm-hmm.
He probably got two more in him. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna they drafted some. They probably got somebody in the wings waiting to go. But this is like I said, the age, yes, is a little concerning. And I know he was like nicked up some last year, and I know him playing left tackle in the Super Bowl did not make him look the best of his ability because them boys, them boys over there made him look like he was dog food. But he did the best he could, man. But this is all about establishing Caleb Williams and making him comfortable. Yes, he's a little on the older side, but you want to make Caleb comfortable in Ben Johnson's offense. And I think, going to get Joe Turner for what you didn't give up a lot. You had to pay him, but I think it was well worth it to get to Austin to where you want to go.
Rome Odunze, 54 catches, 734 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Does he go more or less?
More. I'm looking for Rome to have 80 to 90, maybe crack 9, crack 1,000, 1,100 because he's that skilled, man. He's 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". Big boy, man. He reminds me of a baby. I don't say he a baby Keenan Allen, but he has some of those similarities in there, and you see why they signed Keenan Allen to bring my young bull along last year. So I'm gonna say more off the strength of, once again, Ben Johnson creating stuff for his superstar players on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I got more on him as well. We're gonna go defense here, and let's go to my boy Montez Sweat. More or less than 5.5 sacks.
I'm gonna say more, maybe 7 or 8, 9 max, and that's not saying a whole lot. Hey, is the back end going to cover to help Sweat, get to the quarterback a little, a little quicker? But I'm gonna say until he gets some solid help or have another pass rush on the other side step up, he's gonna be between that 5 and 9 range for me.
Okay, and then one more here. Jalen Johnson. He caught 2 interceptions last year. He caught 4 in 2023, and that was his career high. So does he go? And based on last year, does he go more or less interceptions than 2? Jalen Johnson.
I give him 4. I give him 4.
Give him 4.
Give him 4 because Brisker's an opportunist if he stay healthy. Byer can be an opportunist. Tremaine Edmonds being 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is, he can snatch a couple across the middle. Tyreek Stevenson, if he ain't looking in the crowd, he can get a couple. It all predicated on the pass rush up front and how long you have to hold up versus these wide receivers out in the league now. These wide receivers are dangerous. You can't hold up for so long. But yeah, man, I'm gonna say about 4 for sure.
And then, I mean, if you're looking at this pass rush, like it's not really scaring you, other than you looking at Montez Sweat, Grady Jarrett. I'm looking at the depth chart now. Montez Sweat, Grady Jarrett, Garon Dexter, and Deo Odeyingbo. It's not really scaring you.
But
And then
does Montez Sweat even scare you? That's my thing. You know what I mean? So it's like,
and behind him, Austin Booker, Andrew Billings, who's a vet who's been in the league for a minute. Did he play for the Ravens?
yes, he was there for a cup of coffee.
Shamar Turner, who you never know what you're gonna get out of a rookie, so you're expecting some things out of him, and then Dominique Robinson. The pass rush is definitely circled as a watch that for this team. My players to watch. I'm going with. I ain't even had no players to watch last night, so we had such a good time on the pod last night. We didn't even get a chance to do that. But my players to watch is Jaquan Brisker. He's going into a contract year, coming off of concussions as well. I'm going to see if he can be able to hold up. Montez Sweat, of course, and then Caleb Williams to see if he can progress in his second year. And then my rookies to watch, of course, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden is another one to see if he can unlock another weapon there. And then Ruben Hippolyte, who I think I got real high hopes for. I see something in this guy. I watched some film on him, and I think he could be one of the next good Chicago Bears linebackers coming up this season and beyond. So, any other players that you would like to touch on?
Of course, you got Caleb. Of course, I want to see the offensive line, and not a player per se, not a player, but I want to see Ben Johnson. You know what I'm saying? I want to see what he what's his operation look like now that he's the head man. I want to see how he called the game. Do he call the game tight when when it's a close game? Are you gonna let Caleb do his thing? Are you gonna hold him back? So Caleb, the offensive line, and Ben Johnson as a head coach. Those are three things I'm looking for.
Remember in his press conference, I don't know if you saw his press conference, but he was talking about beating Kevin O'Connell, and he was talking about what's the Packers head coach. What's my man name?
Matt LaFleur.
Matt LaFleur. Why am I blanking on names? Matt LaFleur. He was laughing at the fact that he said he loved beating Matt LaFleur twice a year.
All right.
He better hope that those words don't come and bite him back. So I'm expecting. You make a statement like that, I'm expecting big things out of Ben Johnson this year.
Absolutely, and you really couldn't say that last year because you could say you love beating Matt LaFleur, but you ain't had to bite that bullet. Dan Campbell had to stand in front of that media and take those answers and stuff, questions last year. Now, if you don't beat Matt LaFleur or Kevin O'Connell, you got to want to sit up here and get them clips rolled back at you from your press conference 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago. How are you gonna handle that? I know he can handle it, but it's like you putting the cart before the horse, talking before you even did anything as a head coach in the league. Can we take this guy seriously? And the Chicago media going to have so much hype around this team and the fan base is. So pressure's going to be on them if they come out sloppy and they don't get it together by week 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're going to be scratching their head talking about something. Maybe we get this guy one more shot, and after next year, if he's not the guy, next.
Just like players, head coaches don't last in this league as well.
Absolutely.
So, any projected win totals for the Bears this year?
Everything goes right. Battling, like I've said, for the last 3 teams we covered, battling division, 9 wins, 10 wins. So that means they're going to have to steal a couple games from the Packers, Lions, and Vikings, and maybe 1 or 2 outside of the division. So maybe 9, 10 wins. Probably split with split with everybody else. Floor 7. That's an improvement from 4 from the year before. So that's a 3-game swing. Man, that's a good good season in some people's eyes if you swing in 3 games. You know what I mean? So plus being a new head coach, new regime, new organization, new organizational mindset, mind frame. So 7 is the floor, 10 is the win, 10 is the ceiling. Anything else past that? Anything past 10, I'll be surprised.
Ceiling, I'm gonna go 9. Floor, I'm gonna go 7 because you still have to deal with those with that NFC North. You still got to deal with the Jettas, and I know Jalen Johnson's going to do his job, but what about everybody else? You still got to deal with Jordan Love and those receivers over there. You still got to deal with Jahmyr Gibbs and whoever else Detroit is throwing at you, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it's definitely going to be tough, man. But the weather has took over, so we're gonna try to get off here real quick. We don't win 40 minutes. I think that's enough, especially for a team that won 5 games last year. I think we touched on enough, touched on some of the players and everything else. Tomorrow we'll start with the AFC North. One of the teams in the AFC North. You'll find out tomorrow because I don't even know myself right now. But Any final thoughts, brother, before we get up out of here?
No, man, no thoughts, man. I think we covered the NFC North this last past couple of days. Had some Darrell on yesterday to give his insight, about the Packers and the rest of his division and how he may feel. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the NFC North, and I know we're going to tap back in with some of our brethrens in this space to with some other teams coming up down the road. So I mean, nah, man, this NFC North, that's a wrap, and AFC North, Joe Burrow, um, Lamar, Shador, Dylan Gabriel, and whoever else the quarterback up there in Pittsburgh. Oh, A-Rod, here we come. We're gonna break you down and give our thoughts. So if there's any AFC North fans out there, please tune in next couple days and let us know what you're thinking. If we you disagree with something, we may say, hey, hop in the chat and say, hey, we don't agree with that, and we can discuss it right here on live and shoot back and forth. So,
all right, man. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys sometime tomorrow. Until then, have a good night.